I'm sure it's fine. Maybe I'm just like down because I woke up at 3 a.m. and I'm sleepy.
That could be.
So my voice is like, nah, we're still not awake yet, my guy. We are getting into another Ouija board episode that I've titled, well, Ouija, look at that. Beautiful. You know, at a certain point, you just want to have some fun with the titles, and that's what I'm doing now.
Your intellect is stimulating.
It is indeed. So welcome back to the show, everyone. Hope you're all doing fantastic. It is the year 2025.
I wonder if this is the year I start believing in Ouija boards.
It is not. I can feel it in my loins, but that's not why we're here.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't.
Not here to... It's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to go into that any further. It's the year 2025 right now, and we still have to record the Christmas episode. Isn't that fun?
2025. That's a 9-year.
Wow. Isn't that something?
But I don't remember what.
Everyone at home? No. But it's fine. Yeah, so another Ouija board episode. We hope everyone's having a fantastic new year. We're not sure if we are yet because we're in the past, and that's how it works. But if you are new to this show, we ask one thing of you, and that's that you listen to it in its entirety. And if you're a fan of what you hear, you slap a 5-star review on that bad boy. How many months have to go by before we get another Apple Podcast review? You know, how many months, people? Let me ask you, how many months? Someone answer in a 5-star review and say, no more months, Scott, I got you. And I usually don't do all this before we get into the episode, but I just told you we're getting into another Ouija board episode. It's got some good stories in there, and I don't have much else to say except for follow us on social media at Freaky Deaky Pod. Wherever you are at, we are also at that. Beautiful. In the meantime, we will see you on the inside. You are now entering the realm of the Freaky Deaky, an unsuspecting stop at the crossroads of fantasy and reality, where the frayed edges of make-believe seep into this cookie-cutter white picket world you've been led to believe is far from extraordinary. What you're about to hear are true stories.
Alleged true stories.
Christian, just... okay? Tales of the strange and inexplicable thought only to exist in film and folklore. Although difficult to accept, we do not know everything about this reality. About time or space, what lies beneath the ocean's depths. And try though we might, the unchanging truth remains. There are some things we legitimately cannot explain logically. And now we're on the inside. Welcome back to the show. Christian, how are you doing?
I am wonderful.
You say that all the time, and it's to the point where I feel it lacks sincerity.
I am spectacular.
Wow, even worse. That's fine. Sometimes you just be like, you know what? Everything sucks. I'm like, yeah, I hear that.
I never do that, even when it sucks.
Even when everything sucks.
I try to convince myself it'll be okay.
Wow, that happens sometimes.
How often have you heard me express things like that? Everything sucks.
But see, that's the issue is you got to get it off your chest. You know, if you bury it deep down, you know what that ends up as? Issues.
Trauma. I'm Generation X. That's what we were taught to do. Beat it down.
Beat it out of them. That's one of your generation's many flaws. But we're not here for generational talk yet.
That's a different podcast.
That isn't a different podcast entirely. We are here for freaky Ouija board stories, damn it. And I'm going to deliver. And if I don't deliver, leave a 5-star review saying, Scott, you didn't deliver, damn it. And that'll be good enough for me. Thank you very much. I guess since I already got everything out of the way, I should just start reading these stories, you know?
Probably.
It feels it's about time. This first one's a bit of a longer one, so I may have to take a coconut water break if y'all don't mind in the middle somewhere, but it's called Why You Don't Play with Ouija Boards.
They play back.
And it's by Ty Lass in the South. And did I name it that because it's great SEO? Perhaps. But also a chilling reminder, no doubt. Says, my dumbass friends and I thought it'd be fun to convene with the spirits. Pretty much daily one summer. We'd regularly break out a homemade Ouija board to see how goofy we could get. Because it gets too hot to do a damn thing outside during that time of year, we had to find things to keep our 14, 15-year-old selves entertained in, let's call her Jennifer's tiny little house in the 90s. Things went from casual and believable, quote, I'm a teenager who died in a house fire, end quote, I'm an old woman who died of natural causes, stuff like that, to disturbing, such as, I have never had a body, but I am able to experience life down here if you say you accept me. Seems like we got some wandering demon spirits.
If there were demons, that's exactly what they would do.
And there are, so it works out. For those, we'd always take our hands off and demand a new spirit. Like, that's how it works. Like, no, next. Like you're on fucking MTV or some shit in the early 2000s. It's fine. After that was essentially auditioning them. The gang and I managed to settle on a rather gentle entity who went by AJ Duke.
They auditioned
I know.
The spirits?
That's what it sounds like. No, you're no good for this clique. Get out.
That sounds like a way to start some trouble.
And perhaps it did.
To bring the spirits in. Have a seat on my couch, young spirit.
Wow.
Do you want this part?
No. Only for AJ Duke. AJ said we could talk to him pretty much whenever we wanted. He was 8 years old and didn't want to cross over because he liked watching people go about their lives, and he'd been doing this for hundreds of years.
Fascinating.
Sounded like BS, but whatever. It was a Ouija board. All of it was kind of bullshit, right? That's where Christian chimes in and be like, hell yeah.
I would never use that phrase in that tone, but
Christian, I feel like you need to spice up your vocabulary a little bit. Add some punch to it, you know? And a hell yeah would do it.
Does the punch have rum in it?
Nope.
Good. I'm not a rum fan.
It was all well and good for about a week or so. He would tell us things about other people in the neighborhood and his usual shitty spelling. And it was always hot tea. Haha. We were so polite back and forth with the thank you and you're so adorable. Oh my god, cringe, I know. And we'd occasionally bring AJ up in jokes and casual banter when we weren't playing. He was kind of like a fourth wheel for a few days there. Then it got weird. AJ revealed that our playing was attracting bad spirits into the property. He said we shouldn't talk as much anymore, but if we asked for him when we started, he would try and take up the space so they couldn't talk to us. We felt so protected by this little dude. Corny as it sounds, AJ was always around and game to talk when we sat back down to gab. Soon, though, we started noticing this damn thing getting faster and stronger. Our arms would feel pulled this way and that, and go to letters faster and with incredibly skillful precision. Increasingly, we'd end up putting the board away because the vibe started to feel super sour in the room. It's gross to say, but the gentle aspect that we liked about this spirit was replaced with wording that was not only better spelled, but sexual and catty in nature. Oh damn, AJ, going hard, I gotcha. And even though we'd put the fucking thing away once it got all weird, we'd go right back to it later, in the evening or next day. It was a compulsion.
Ouija addiction. I'm addicted to the Ouija.
That happens sometimes, it turns out. One night, Jennifer's older sister stopped by to visit their mom, but decided to hang with us for a while. It was literally the first time she ever did this, and it felt really cool to have someone who was pretty popular in high school kick it with us. Hell yeah. When she came into Jennifer's room and saw the Ouija board, she got instantly piqued. We showed her what we usually got up to, and she was skeptical at first. She said, I'm going to go in the hall and hold some fingers up. Let's see if the Ouija board can get it. So she does. One by one, it kept nailing it. You could see the smirk wipe off her face and go into something akin to fear. Then you could see the fear go into a desperate curiosity. She sat down and played with us, getting some gossip about her parents' divorce that we didn't even think to ask about. It didn't take long for the sexual catty stuff to get cranked up. She was looking at us with a face that also felt the air shift. When we did our usual bellyache and hands-off ritual over it, she protested. She thought this was when it really gets interesting. And what did that damn thing suggest we do not 5 minutes after we decide she might be right? It suggested we hold a seance. Ah, yes.
I thought that's what they were pretty much already doing.
Yeah, maybe they didn't like candles, Christian. I don't know. I wasn't really there. Guess what gang went along with it because cool big sis got super excited at the idea. So did we. The board told us to get into a circle and hold hands, then call for a spirit to appear. Mind, the Ouija isn't spelling things out as cleanly. It'd be something like circle, C-I-R-C-L, hold hand, invite. Texting in shorthand, damn it. The future got to us. And that's the good spelling. Anyway, we do as instructed. Nothing was happening at first, in spite of Big Sister's insistence that If you're there, show us a sign. On repeat. Still, our big round eyes look around at one another. I'm not sure if we were hoping something would happen or if we were waiting for another to call it off. Nobody wants to be the ultimate nerd, though. If we played our cards right, we might hang with her crew as they smoked cigarettes between classes and generally looked beautiful and badass. If you're there, do something, she commanded. A newspaper clipping taped to my friend's mirror flicked and we all jumped, but she confirmed it was a ceiling fan and said it does that periodically. There's maybe another minute of Big Sister making demands, and I was certain someone was going to sneak up and break the circle, but Big Sis dropped. Quote, if you are here, I give you permission to show yourself. That's where it goes crazy, Christian. Don't do that.
I mean, that's what everybody should do. If they're already taking the chance with the Ouija board, you might as well go all the way.
Well, there you go. You can go home and give that a shot. Not a moment after she uttered those words did she leap off her feet and scream while pulling her shirt off. Get off me. She was screaming, and Jennifer immediately hopped up and pulled the cord to turn the light back on. Her big sister threw herself back into the wall as though smashing an invisible something that was on her. I remember a single stream of spit hanging from her mouth as it hung open for a moment. It was just really odd to see a cool person looking decisively not. I digress. It was fucking terrifying. She spun around and screamed, "What is it?" over and over, and just below her bra strap were 3 scratches, in some places deep enough to draw a bit of blood. We instinctively huddled around her, cloaking her in a protective shield, but had no fucking clue what to do except move that huddle downstairs and into the living room. Just picture a bunch of teenagers around this.
One with her shirt off.
Wow, look, don't picture that, everyone, you perverts. But had no fucking clue what to do except move that huddle downstairs and into the living room, where her mother was watching TV. She leapt up and took a big look at Big Sis's back as we frantically explained what happened. I actually hate that I drew this out, but it literally looks like this.
Big D for devil? Or S for Satan?
No, that shit says AJ. In welt and blood. AJ. Her mom made us burn the damn thing. She kept saying, I told you not to mess with it. I told you. And in rare fashion, Jennifer didn't utter a word in protest. She just asked advice on the best way to burn it. Strange bonding experience, standing in the backyard at night and watching her mother, usually quite sullen and withdrawn those days, put one arm around Big Sis and use the other to continually douse the doomed board with lighter fluid. I never did get to stand outside with the cool kids. If anything, she pretended not to see us even harder. LOL.
I mean, that's how it goes.
That is how it goes. If you're not cool, you're not hanging out with the cool kids, all right? We've all seen the movies.
So AJ was like the vampire from Interview with a Vampire that was perpetually young.
Forever young. I wanna be forever. Yes.
Another
great song.
Not good song.
Christian, oh my God. Ugh. Not cool of you to say that. And also not cool of AJ to be kind of a dick, you know?
I have a question about AJ, because he was around for hundreds of years, he said.
Sure.
Would his English sound different? Be spelled different?
It was clearly spelled different. It was spelled horribly.
Yeah, that's different than how, if he was around for a couple hundred years, he should have been spelling, though, because language was, and this is one of the things that sometimes I question about, like, Ouija board stories, or like the verbiage is totally modern when it shouldn't be, unless these spirits can speak in any kind of language they want, which also doesn't make sense.
That is also the case, but in a situation like this, if this AJ character, let's call it what he is, a demon, if this demon was been around for hundreds of years, probably more than that, honestly, but let's just say it's a ghost. It's fine. It's been around for hundreds of years, and maybe back when he was alive, he spoke a certain way, and then he mentioned loving to people watch pretty much. So you could easily pick up the language, the lingo, you know?
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, it could happen, but also he's 8 years old.
Allegedly. He's 8,000 years old, maybe. I mean, if he's been dead for hundreds of years, he's no longer 8 years old. And obviously that was a ploy. He wasn't 8 years old to begin with. That's how you rope him in. Oh, he's so cute and cuddly and adorable. And then you hit him with the demon stuff. You're like, oh, now that I got you, let me in, you know?
Allegedly.
Not even allegedly. That's kind of how it works. You know, demons are a little tricky.
I've never met a demon.
You might have. You actually have no idea if you have.
I'm pretty sure.
You've encountered demons, no doubt, in your life. You're how old? 6,005? You've definitely met a few demons. And a few is probably being very generous with that, you know?
I disagree.
I disagree. The interesting part of that, what I found fascinating, was that they talked to spirits that had never inhabited a body, because that is straight up biblical, man. That is creepy. That's creepy as hell. And I didn't even catch that on the first read of it. I was like, But that second time, my head was working.
But that spirit needed to be invited in again like a vampire.
I think
it's funny how the rules work.
A lot of lore, is pulled from these ancient texts and all this stuff. Like if you're coming up with vampire lore or whatever, whoever the first vampire was.
There's no such thing.
No, there might be. I don't know. We still haven't done an episode on the Count Chocula, or whatever his name is. Saint Germain. That's the one I'm thinking of.
That's coming.
It's coming. Yeah. And wouldn't that mean that you have some kind of dominion over things? If they have to be invited in, if this spiritual entity needs to be invited in, that means you got to open the door for it, which means you hold the power.
I always just feel like these are human rules that we're making up on the fly. But for believers, that might be different.
There's going to come a time in this podcast, Christian, where I encourage you to just go and play with Ouija boards all day, where I'm just like, just go do it, man. Just go open yourself up. If you can't open yourself up to the good, then perhaps it's the evil that'll convince you,
Don't you have to have more than one person to play the Ouija board?
I don't think so. I think you play it by yourself. It might not be as interesting. Definitely.
Especially if you're a non-believer.
I know, you just be like, what the fuck am I doing? What am I doing here? Damn it, there's a game on.
Yeah.
Do it while you play the game. Ask who's going to win. There you go.
Oh, you know what? That reminds me, going back to the story.
Yes.
When she was standing outside of the room with her finger showing a certain amount of fingers, I wish they would have explained if they could see her. I mean, it sounded like they could because she had a smirk on her face or something.
I feel like it'd be kind of counterintuitive to test the board and have everyone that's playing on the board be able to see you. That's why she left the room. Otherwise, she could have just been like, because the whole point is to get away from people.
That's what I would think too. But the story was kind of vague, like they could almost see her because I think they mentioned an expression on her face or something.
But I think in that instance in particular, it's probably she did it and then she came back in and they were like, the board said 3 or something like that. And so maybe she was reacting to that. At least that's what I would personally assume. But
otherwise, it's a good story. Very detailed.
It's a very interesting story. Yeah. There was some spelling mishaps in there, not just from the Ouija demon, turns out. But yeah, that was a...
How do we know it's not a Ouija demon that wrote that?
Oh, damn it. They got us.
If they can learn modern language, they can learn how to use the internet.
Very true.
Theoretically.
Fun little anecdote. We were all in the living room. I got some family in town. We were all in the living room a couple days ago and watching TV. And one of China's plants that's on there, that little Monstera, I think it is, just moves.
That thing always moves.
But it's creepy as hell if you don't see it. And then suddenly it's just like, and like my sister looked over at me, I'm like, it's the ghost. Technically plants are alive, and they do grow.
Yeah.
So they have to move. I just never see it move personally.
I think I've seen that plant move before though.
Yeah. It looked like someone flicked it. That was the movement of it. I'm like, that didn't even look like it was just kind of like, it was like, but that was fun. What a treat. Anyway, let's get into this next one. It's called The Attachment and it's by Amy's Cool.
Is she though?
If you call yourself cool, it's like Cool Ranch Doritos. If you call yourself cool, you're not really very cool,
And are there any ranches that are cool? Not really.
If you put them in the fridge, turns out.
I've never put a ranch in the fridge. They're a little big.
Oh my God, Christian. I'm not talking about a real ranch, damn it.
I was.
I know. I can see that now. Crossed Wires.
That one where Kevin Costner was.
You talking about Yellowstone now?
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, getting back to the spooky ghost show. The Attachment. Says, when my mom was a little kid, her dad was killed in a road traffic collision, and my nan went through a phase of trying to contact her dead husband with Ouija boards with the help of an old aunt who was into all sorts of creepy shit. Whatever came out of that board has haunted my family for decades. Ooh, I love a good attachment story. A family curse, perhaps.
I feel like this family needs to learn about sage.
And our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, it turns out. Anyway, it says, it seems to have attached itself to my mom's older sister. They were 4 and 6 at the time of their dad's death, and all throughout their childhood, they were plagued by it. My mom really doesn't like talking about some of the things she remembers, but it would scratch them, throw stuff at them, pull their hair, lock them in rooms, and set fire to things. That last one's a little dangerous, I think. Even my mom's younger sister, who was not born at the time of doing the Ouija board from my nan's second marriage, had quite terrifying experiences, as well as various extended family that can recount stories to this day. Whatever it is has followed my mom's older sister to where she lives in a whole different country. her husband and kids regularly experiencing similar things to what my mom did as a child. I and other cousins have experienced things too when she's been back here visiting, and I personally refuse now to stay overnight in her home. For the last decade, I've stayed in a nearby hotel when visiting the country. Just do not touch them. It's not worth it. My aunt didn't even do the board herself, but her life and the rest of our lives, by extension, have been plagued by this thing. Many blessings and whatever have been tried. Nothing has ever worked.
Because it's in your head.
Wow, just like zombies. Nice cranberries, ref. Yeah, so attachments, man. It's fascinating stuff. I would love to have someone on the show that is like very well versed in this type of stuff, but I'd want to find someone that isn't like over the top with it, you know? And that's a fine line to walk, especially in like the Christian sector of things where
they're a little over the top on everything.
It's either like just bombarding you one after the other, or like I want someone that actually explains it in like a spiritual way without being a little too heavy on the pedal, you know? So if anyone knows anyone out there that could do that type of stuff, or that is well versed in this, or if you yourself are well versed in this and not just someone that has been on Google for a few days, comment below. Give us your thoughts on that. I personally believe in, soul ties and different stuff like that because it makes sense, and I've experienced it firsthand myself. And
what is a soul tie? Is that like some racist thing?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked. It's when black people, no, just kidding. It has nothing to do with race, actually. It's actually of a sexual nature, right? And so...
You pervert.
I know, right? It's great. Anyway, whole reason of being, celibate or whatever, if you're religious or raised religious, which every guy that was raised religious hated being celibate, and that's part of the issue. But...
Because it's not natural.
No, it's not fun. It's, and I guess natural even might be a good word for it, Christian, but pretty much anyone you sleep with, you both walk away with a little bit less of you.
Oh, that sounds dumb.
And so that person has a little bit of you, you have a little bit of them, and you have to break that because otherwise, you see these people that just like slut it up all over town, guys included, and they're
we
no
don't
longer...
slut shame here. Sorry, man.
I'm not slut shaming. I'm saying the simple fact of the matter is you can get attachments from the people you sleep with. It's that simple.
That's called an STD.
That is also part of it. Yes, you can get that. And Vegas was a good time. But beside all that, I think that it's real because I've, after I broke certain things with some of these absolutely horrible exes, there's like a weight that lifts off you from it. And maybe it's like someone from your perspective is probably like, well, that's just you getting it off your chest. You're just saying to the world or whatever. You're physically saying something and you're feeling the relief of that. But for, religious folks, I do personally believe that we have souls. I think that, we can give ourselves away, bits and pieces here and there. You can't sell your soul, but you can
give it away.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can be kind of muddied by your actions.
Well,
and there are consequences.
There are always consequences to actions, but you don't give away your soul or pieces of it. You just change.
Christian, you have a very loose grasp on reality, but that's okay. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this that think the same thing of me. And that's what makes it work, damn it. But you are to blame for a lot of the stuff that we do here, or a lot of the conversations I have to have on this podcast that people really don't like. You are at the heart of it to blame for it.
Why?
Because you're the one that asks the question. I'm like, okay, I'll explain it to you. And then I explain it poorly because I'm not great at explaining things to people. It's like a understanding within my mind, and then I try to explain it. I'm like, well, that didn't sound right. But it's fine.
It always sounds fine.
It's fine.
You don't have to use big words. That's not that impressive.
That's preposterous. Just kidding. You are going to get a kick out of this next one, though. I put it in here just for you. I was like, Christian needs to hear this story. It's called Metalheads and Black Goat Legs.
Ooh, I like them black goats.
Oh, yeah. And it's by Carlos Carlitos. Definitely not a real name. Oh, man, I missed the opportunity to push that button when I was talking about the soul ties. I'll do it now.
A few more minutes, I would have developed a fetish.
Bingo. Anyway, says my...
I carry all my soul ties around in my backpack.
It shows. Anyway, says, my friend is a metalhead and hangs out mostly with his kind.
Devil worshiper.
With your kind. When he was in junior high, him and his group of friends thought it would be funny to do a session, obviously on the Ouija board.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
I thought we were
what kind of music are we listening to?
We just vibing out and smoking the weed, friend. We just on that weed. Classic narc. Anyway, at first answers were kind of random. No one was truly convinced it was working. One of these guys had a friend, a classmate, who was about to participate in a Taekwondo tournament. He was the only one out of the group who knew the name of his friend's rival. He asked what was she, the rival, called, and the board gave a different name. He said, "That's not her," and they took it even less seriously. Then they asked what was the entity's name. My friend doesn't remember the exact answer, but he says it sounded like how you'd expect a demon to be called, something creepy. That happened on a weekend. On Monday, they went back to school and told their classmate, the one who participated in the tournament, that the Ouija had given them a wrong name. They said this jokingly, but the classmate told them that the fight was canceled last minute and wrote on the board the name of her new rival, which coincided with what the board had told them except for one letter. It was a very, very unusual name. Nobody could have known at the time of the session. They were very, very shocked, but it didn't stop there. My friend recalls they all went through some weeks of bad luck. Silly things would happen to all of them, like a black car almost running over one of them in a parking lot and stuff.
That sounds like good luck if it didn't run them over.
No, good luck would be if it did, but didn't kill them, because then you got that payday, and possibly the inability to walk for the rest of your life, but we won't look into that because that's depressing. Anyway, they naturally didn't tell their families what they had done, but the worst thing happened to the sister of one of them. One evening, he was on his computer, which was under a staircase. His sister was watching TV facing him in the stairs. I swear this is how he tells it. His sister saw a couple of goat legs slowly walking down the stairs. The ceiling was blocking the entire view, so she thought maybe her mom was wearing a costume or something.
Cosplaying.
I know, weird first guess.
Satanic cosplaying.
Yeah, why not? Metalheads?
Yeah, explains everything.
But when the legs reached a certain step, she could see how they lacked an upper body. It was just a pair of black goat legs. She screamed and had an anxiety attack, couldn't stop crying. The brother didn't see anything since he was focused on the computer. I personally think it's dumb to use a Ouija board just to see if the stories are real, especially after hearing this from my friend. I have huge respect for the board, regardless of those who've done it without anything happening to them.
Black Phillip lives.
I knew you were going to make a Black Phillip reference. I'm like, wait, this is a black goat leg?
I just watched that movie a couple weeks ago.
I bet you did. I'm sure it's a spiritual experience for you.
It is. It's one of my favorite movies. The best one I've ever seen on witches. But we've talked about that many times.
What is the actual plot of that movie? Like, what's in like a minute or less? What's the actual arc of that? Because I don't know much about it. I just know there's a devil goat.
I think a lot of it has to do with, in that time period, fear. And, they're in the New World, so it's a vast and dangerous place.
It's like the polar opposite of Aladdin.
The dad had been kind of excommunicated from his church, so they have to move out of town because he disagreed with the way they were practicing religion. He was more old school.
Gotcha.
More rigid on the way they should do things because they were Puritans. And so they were outcast, and then the fear of witches kind of takes over. And there's all kinds of things that happen, and you need to decide whether there's an actual witch and witchcraft, and who's the focus.
Well, good news. I already have decided that.
Did you watch the movie yet?
No, I've not, but I need to. It's still on the list.
Yeah.
Where are you streaming it, or do you have it on something?
I can't remember where it's at now. It's usually pretty easy to find, and it's a slow movie, but it's really fascinating. And at the end, you're like, oh, okay.
You're like, I guess witches are real. Isn't that something? Very nice.
One thing, as you were reading that story, it kind of, and you know how you were talking about soul ties related to the previous story. I might say it's kind of a shared consciousness on a lot of these.
How so?
The fact that sometimes a group of people can be on the same wavelength, pushing the planchette in unison, because that's my belief is what's going on.
Yeah, you think it's just people pushing.
Yeah, and they don't know it. So,
sure.
And then some of the seemingly random things that come out of the board could be a part of shared consciousness, where
like a golem.
No, just like the consciousness that we all share, that we don't. We kind of
This demon.
we wall ourselves off from that shared consciousness a lot with our various beliefs throughout the world.
Now, about that though, what about like even in the last story or the first story, the big sister could see this thing attacking her, but no one else could.
I mean, there's plenty of people that say they've been scratched or attacked, but that could be part of your consciousness. I mean, if you believe you're being attacked, you're being attacked. It doesn't matter whether there's a demon, ghost, or your mind.
But where do we draw the line for that? Because
we can't
just doing it with spiritual things, like things that no one can see, like. Because you can't do that for any other thing on the face of the earth. Like, this is the only aspect of life where you can be like, oh, well, it's just your consciousness. It's your inner thoughts that are manifesting this. But I can't do it by going out in nature and being like, I would like to find $1,000 right here, and then willing that into existence.
I mean, there's a whole video and book series on that kind of stuff called The Secret.
But that's witchcraft.
No, that's consciousness.
It's new age bullshit, and I think everyone knows
it's still shared consciousness if it works.
If it works, but I will personally go out and be like, there's $1 million buried right here. I'm going to think about it all day, every day for a week. I'm going to stare at this exact spot. I'm going to find $1 million.
No, you gotta ask for guidance to the $1 million. And unfortunately, the reason people don't normally find it is because
they're stupid.
For most of us, $1 million takes a lot of work.
I don't know, man.
Unless you're born into it, or you go viral, which we're still hoping to do.
Or you hop on a stupid meme coin and 1,000x your net worth overnight.
And you're speaking a foreign language to some of our listeners.
To most of them, I'm sure. But it's fine. Played that game many a time.
I feel like in the future we need to explore that shared consciousness. Another example I'd use is you've heard stories when somebody thinks of like this great invention, but they don't do anything about it. And like 2 years later, somebody else came up with the same thing.
Sure, that happens to me. Actually happens to me all the time. Like,
it's happened to me a couple times.
I'll think of things, and then like 10 years later, I'll be like, now hold on just a damn minute. That's my idea.
You know what I hate when that happens is when I'm thinking this would make a good episode. And then I'm
someone comes out with it.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, now we got to wait for a while. But then, life gets busy and it takes a while to get back to it. So we'll get back to that one. But for now, Ouija boards.
I just personally think that the shared consciousness thing is the poor man's way of explaining something you can't explain. Like the idea of a shared consciousness of me thinking something, you thinking something, friends thinking something, and bringing it into existence is almost more far-fetched than the existence of a spiritual plane, which we know to exist.
Do we?
We do. There's enough evidence, I think, out there to prove that there's something after death.
I would say there's something after death.
In the realm of it being like a spiritual existence, or like we know that there are souls. We do have souls.
We know that, and we're able to prove it.
We do know that, and we're able to prove it.
I feel like we do. I disagree with being able to prove it at this point.
Oh, well, let me try to find some articles, and then hope that they're not bullshit. But I'm fairly certain that there's been experiments on looking into the human soul or whatever, or the weight of a soul and all that shit, all those weird experiments that have taken place. But all of those things point to a spiritual aspect of things, more so than just us having the ability to like conjure some random shit with our heads. Like, it's less likely that me and a couple of bozos can conjure something into reality just by like, shared consciousness or like believing or something like that, than it is to think that there's an actual realm out there that we're tapping into. Because we know about dimensions. We know that different dimensions exist.
Theoretically. Okay. I'm not sure that there's proof yet.
Everything is theoretical, right?
Not everything, but
actually
at this point,
everything is. Yeah.
At this point, some of that stuff is still being worked on. So
the theory of relativity, the theory of evolution.
Yeah, but some of that stuff we've gotten a little farther along. I mean, that's theories because some of that stuff's hard to prove.
Well,
but,
yeah, because it's bullshit.
Our listeners can help us find some of this stuff. If they know of articles out there about what we're talking about, send them our way.
We'll get to typing. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll get back to it because it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but hey, Bobby, don't ruin my day on this, okay? Don't come and be like, well, actually, because sometimes you've ruined a couple things for me, and that's not fun. All right, the Bigfoot in particular.
What did Bobby do to you?
I want to say it was the Patty film where we were talking on the Facebook group, the Patty.
Oh.
And ironically enough, like I was like, I don't know, I still pretty much believe it. And then I went down to the Bigfoot art gallery, and Palmer was giving that dude Rob some hot sauce, and we were talking about it. And he was like, it depends on the day of the week whether I believe it or not. I'm like, dude, that is it. That's 100% it. Some days I'm like, nah, that's real. And then some days I'm like, I don't know anymore.
Yeah, to me,
It's too
that one
much.
is one of the, and I know people, they may hate me for this, but that's one of the least believable videos I've ever seen.
No, that's a bit of a stretch. Todd Standing is probably one of the least believable videos you can see. But
That is true. But with Todd Standing, there's that background that makes you disbelieve what he's saying.
the video itself looks very good.
Yeah.
But the
It
background,
looks too good.
Yeah, the background and like special effects makeup and all that shit from his wife is a little
Yeah, that's a little sus.
I was gonna say the same thing. Shared consciousness. Isn't
Yeah,
that
see,
great?
proved it right there.
Wow, TikTok, it got to us. Damn it. Anyway, this next one is called The Incubus.
Ooh, I love these ones. I'm more into succubuses though.
Oh, damn, I had in parentheses here, wait for Christian to make an Incubus band reference before reading. Damn it.
Don't let the world bring you down. Not everybody is that fucked up and cold. There you go.
Okay.
If you listen to Incubus, you know that.
Sure. By Melodic Lie 130.
That's totally a melodic lie.
Yes. It sure is. It says, my ex had a Ouija board that terrified her. She said that when it spoke to her, it told her it was an incubus looking to take her when the time was right.
Okay, I need to stop here for a second.
Should I have saved this for after dark? I don't think so.
No, I just want to say my ex had a Ouija board that scared her. When she used it, I'm like, if it scares you, don't use the crap.
Yet it's the call of the board.
This is the problem with humans. We do stupid stuff like that. I mean, if it scares you to jump out of an airplane, but you really want to do it, that's different.
Sure.
But if you think something's kind of demonic or haunted or has an incubus in it and it scares you, stay away from it.
But if demons aren't real, then why do you got to be afraid, you know?
Because what happens in your mind when you're afraid is not always a pretty thing.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. If you, like, whether I believe it, if you believe it and it scares you, don't use it. Not even on a dare.
Made it up. You made it up.
So anyway, it told her it was an incubus looking to take her when the time was right.
Where was it going to take her?
To Wendy's for a Frosty, of course. And it gave her
Definitely
a very
evil.
specific name for itself. One Halloween, we decided to play with it, and she surprisingly agreed to join. We went to so it sounds like she was very, like, you know, apprehensive about doing it, but because it scared her.
And then when you get a group of friends together and they're like, let's do it, that makes you braver.
She's like, all right, I guess you're all assholes. I'll join.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went to the local Spanish flu cemetery, which is full of nameless.
Impressive.
That is the way to do it. And unmarked graves of children who died in the 1918 pandemic.
Wait a second.
The Pandy Wandy.
I'm going to call bullshit.
Why?
The Spanish flu.
Was that not 1918?
No, that's the time it was, but it was well known that it left children alone in general. The crazy thing about the Spanish flu is it was killing adults. I mean, theoretically, it probably got some kids too, and they maybe they put them all in the same graveyard, but
or maybe they didn't know what was in the grave and they just assumed children.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows? It says no dice. The cops were there to stop Halloween shenanigans.
Of course.
Thankfully. We then went to, someone's going to attack us on YouTube for that lighthearted jest. Anyway,
I mean, that's what they should do on Halloween is hang out around graveyards because people are stupid.
That is true. People are stupid, as it turns out. We then went to a friend's house, but when he learned of what we planned to do, he booted us out and didn't speak to us for a long time. Mexican Catholics don't fuck around.
No, they don't.
We settled for a small local park and got to using the board. It started innocently, with several of us laughing about how silly it seemed to be, but then the answers started becoming specific. It told us how many boys and how many girls there were in a circle, colors of clothes. It knew we were in a park, and it said it wished it could be there in person. My friend asked the board if it had a name. It did. The name my ex said it always gave. Then it told her it was tired of living within her closet and wished she would let it in. That was the end of that. My ex was almost beside herself, and we were all freaked. We took my ex home. I made sure she got inside and everything was okay, and my buddies all dipped. Odd things happened to us all over the next 12 hours. Shadow people, phantom sounds, temperature shifts in rooms, animals acting weird. It felt like we were being observed from afar by something beyond our senses. It took about a week before normalcy came back, My ex got rid of the board shortly after, and we never spoke of it again.
I would have liked to have had the name in this story.
That's probably Zozo.
That's boring.
Is it? I mean, sometimes boring and fact can coexist, you know?
Zozo's just easy to spell. Oh, you know what?
I do.
You know, every time we talk about Zozo,
You have to talk about your friend's dog.
One-
Here we go.
one last time, R.I.P. Zozo.
R.I.P. Zozo.
She passed recently.
Oh. Well, now I look like an asshole. Christian, are you happy?
So we probably won't mention Zozo again, but I wanted to put that out there so she doesn't... Well, if she comes to see me, she's not haunting me and just hanging out.
Well, there you go. Very nice. Kind of spooky. The whole Incubus thing. And we do actually have a TFT After Dark episode featuring Incubus and Succubus stories. And I was, even for TFT After Dark, I was nervous to record that because there is some, like, I'm going to have to change some phrasing or something. Or I just balls to the wall with it and be like, here we go, everyone. You signed up for this. Will you sign down for it?
I'm glad your pervy ass put that one together because I would have never...
I know. Like, as I was reading, I'm like, this is a good story, and it kind of proves the existence, allegedly.
How does it prove the existence?
Because someone's saying they experienced this. To me, in my head, as long
that
as...
is true. That is true. That's how you believe. I believe differently.
I don't think everyone is telling the truth, but I think if I find enough stories of people saying they experienced something, and my own brother, speaking of rest in peace, had what I consider to be a succubus encounter himself. And technically, I had one as well. So... I mean, for me, that's enough for me to be like, you know what? These things are out there, folks.
I still have not had one.
You're like hoping for it every night.
I mean, it would be good for the ratings on the pod. I'm just saying, I'll take one for the team.
Yeah. Not if it's what my brother saw, because that was my cat 4 times her size and talking about wanting to fuck him and shit like that. That was, when he came in and talked to me about that, like, you could see it in his eyes. He was like, that shit was fucked up, dude. I'm like, yeah, it sounds like it was. Please don't touch my cat.
Cats are demons, man.
No, the cat was in my room growling at the bottom of my door while it was going on. So
actually, I sometimes wonder if cats protect us from those things.
I believe they do. Shout out Teresa. And it's kind of a mascot cat at this point. Kind of a mascot for the Freaky Deaky. We claimed it.
Well, we need a picture so we can...
We get pictures every week.
So we need a sticker.
Teresa, does your cat want to be immortalized in sticker form? So if you want that in a sticker pack, send us a good photo. We'll make it happen.
I was hanging out with a cat the other day.
Just me and the cool cats.
Actually, my uncle used to use that phrase back when I was a kid.
Christian, you were never a kid.
It was a while ago.
It's been a while. Damn. All right, we might be able to get 1 or 2 more, but don't worry. I have enough for another Ouija episode already because I found just like a gold mine of really great stories, and I was like, I don't want to lose these. So I'll just set a bunch more aside and use it in the future. But I don't know. I love these episodes. I don't know how you feel about Ouija episodes.
They're fun.
I know Melanie probably hasn't listened. Sorry, Melanie. I can't remember if you listen to Ouija episodes or not, but here we are. Anyway, all that to say, let's get into this next one. It's called Hooves on the Roof. And it's by Crush Your Pretty. One night, my friend and I were messing around with a Ouija board on the front porch of her dad's house. To set the scene, he lived out in the country in an early 1900s American farmhouse. The kind that has a front porch that runs the whole length of the front of the house, and the porch has its own sloped roof.
That sounds amazing.
Separate from the house's roof.
So it was probably just built on later and they covered it.
Yeah, interesting.
So it's probably
attached.
It's probably attached to the house, but just not part of the original roof.
My parents still do have a wraparound porch, so those are pretty nice if you like to sit out in the outdoors, I guess.
You'd have to have screens here, though.
True.
Those bugs will get you.
Yeah, I think about doing that for our deck.
That would
constantly.
be cool.
I might just build it out a little bit and screen it off. I'd be all for that. When this monkey coin pops off, Christian, I might just make it happen. I can't even remember what we were asking the board, but after a few minutes of the basic stuff, is there anyone here, spell your name, etc., all of a sudden, out of dead silence of the night, we heard a loud plop coming from the roof of the porch above us.
That's aliens.
Then plop, 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 plop,
multiple aliens.
Plop, plop, down the whole length of the roof above us. Something was walking up there, and it was definitely big and definitely bipedal.
Skinwalker.
Mothman. It sounded like human footsteps, except that the plops were more concentrated than a person's shoe would sound like. I shit you not, it sounded just like fucking Hooves. I got a chill just remembering and typing this. We noped off that porch and back into the house so quick, but not before my friend remembered to move the planchette from the board, which was on a table, to the ground below the table. She said she had always heard if you leave the planchette on the board at the end of a session, it invites whatever you made contact with into this realm. And I shit you not, when we went back on the porch the next morning, the planchette was back on the board on top of the table. You know, it'd be hilarious if it was like one of the parents goes outside and is like, what's this doing on the ground? Just like puts it back on the table. It just ruins their kids' lives forever.
Yeah. There's and the little demons in the background, like
finally
rubbing their hands together in anticipation of the possessions they're going to do.
And who wouldn't in that situation, you know? That's kind of creepy. I mean, what do you think has the... I can't think of anything that would make that loud, like an actual like clopping sound of like hooves or anything like that. I can't think of any bird or anything like that that would make that kind of sound.
I can tell you exactly what would make that kind of sound.
A tin roof.
Your imagination.
Oh, wow. And it was just your imagination. Not a demon. But no, that's what I'm saying, man. Like if you're physically hearing these things, it's not your imagination.
Yeah, it can be.
No, but see, that's what I'm saying. It's a lazy man's response.
I feel like we already know there's such a thing as
demons.
Auditory hallucinations. We already know that.
But they don't just appear out of nowhere for no reason whatsoever.
They don't.
You think it's just triggered by like they're like playing with the Ouija board and suddenly both of them have the exact same auditory hallucination of clopping on the roof?
mean, first off, this is a story from people that we don't know. We were not there, so who knows if this is just a story or a real experience by them, first off. But yes, wow. I do think...
Your skepticism is showing, Christian.
Yeah, I do think both people could imagine sounds, and especially if one of them suggested it.
I think people can imagine sounds, but I don't think that multiple people can imagine the same sounds at the same time. And I think, like, imagine sounds for me... is if I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, did I just hear a car door outside? And I look back, nope, I didn't. Like that is like completely different from hearing something such as hooves on your roof. You know, there's natural sounding things that you're like, oh, I just misheard something, I guess. But then there's stuff that coincides with what you're doing at the moment. And you're like, weird that my brain decided to add to this story a bit with some.
If your brain is primed to go this way already, it's easier. But I know that you believe everything somebody tells you.
That's not even remotely close to being true.
Okay, if it's spooky or demonic, yes, you do.
I don't trust 90% of things that anyone tells me.
Except for that Patterson-Gimlin film. You sometimes
I float back and forth. I can't help it. But see, that just shows that I'm a rational thinking man. Sometimes I'm like, I believe this. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know. Sometimes the evidence points
otherwise. If it's a good story, you tend to believe it.
Yes.
If it's a good story, I'm like, oh, that was a good story. But I don't believe it.
Yeah.
It's just the different ways we view the world. It's not that one's right or wrong.
Well,
it's just
one
the way
is right and one is wrong. No. That's the way that actual truth exists. It lives in absolutes.
Sorry, I was trying to hold that in.
I was trying to keep talking so that you just slowly like pass away on the show. I'm like, I don't know, Christian, then I have to save your life, and then I'd be the hero. Okay.
They keep making these dabs $25 a gram. It's like,
what's he supposed to do? Not dab on them? Yeah. So I just think, again, as I've reiterated many a time on this show, that you cannot have a million stories of people saying they see the same thing or hear something like this or see a demon or experience a demon or play with a Ouija board and have all 100% of them be wrong.
You know what? I will support you on that. It is hard to say that 100% of them are wrong.
But where's the but?
There's no but. There's no but. There may be some of these things may exist.
They may
not
exist.
On the level that people claim they do, though.
But if
sometimes it's not real, I will leave open the fact or leave open that it might be real sometimes. How's that? That's as far as I'm going to go because we can't disprove or prove some of this stuff yet.
I understand
but there's the potential that some of this stuff does happen.
Yes, and I understand that. And I hope that you understand that by even that admission means that the rest of the floodgates are opened up.
It also, one thing that admission means is that I'm not a card-carrying skeptic.
But you are.
They won't give me the card.
I've seen it laminated in your wallet, Christian.
I laminated that myself when I was 5 years old.
All the bubbles told me that, but... It's fine.
The bubbles.
Yeah, because you're a poor laminator, Christian.
Well, I mean, I
I
laminated
took it to a
in
different level. You were expecting me to just be okay with the lamination by yourself, but I know that if you were to do it yourself, it wouldn't look as crisp and clean as a professional lamination job.
Back in the 70s, we didn't have not laminators to buy at Walmart like they do now. I had to make my own plastic from my dad's motor oil.
Wow.
I don't know. That's bullshit. I'm pretty sure everybody
much
knew
like
that.
everything else we talk about on the show, Christian. It's all bullshit, right? Anyway.
To somebody it is.
Okay. So I believe we have time for one more, and then I'll have to set the others aside. Let me just mark on my notes here.
That is smart. I was like, how do you remember? Because sometimes I set things aside and then I'm like, why does this story seem familiar?
I always just write in title font. Ended here. The end. Anyway, this last one is called Prank Gone Wrong. And it's by Luna Stokes.
She's a witch.
Possibly the daughter of my old dentist in Vegas, Dr. Joel Stokes. If you live in Las Vegas and you do not like going to the dentist, go find Dr. Joel Stokes. That man, he literally will sit you down before the appointment. Because I told him, I was like, look, I'm a grown man covered in tattoos. And I have just a horrible, horrible anxiety with going to the dentist. And he's like, oh, don't worry. And like, you literally signed something in his office where he's like, I'm going to treat you like a member of my own immediate family. And let me tell you, I got a lot of work done by that dude. Didn't feel a fucking thing. Didn't feel a damn thing, Christian. Not one damn thing. The man is a miracle worker. If you're in Vegas, go to Dr. Joel Stokes.
Did you feel the shots?
Those I did feel.
Okay.
Yes, I did feel that, but it wasn't as bad as all of the other dentists. It was like you just kind of sit there and like discomfort for 20 seconds. You're like, that was it. Okay. Anyway.
You kind of feel a little pinch. No, I felt a stab.
Yeah, I think you stabbed me, dude. Anyway, that was not a paid advertisement, though I know it sounded like one. That is me living it out and sharing it with the rest of you. Anyway, prank gone wrong. Luna Stokes. I have a few, but the first time I ever did a Ouija board was when I was like 11.
That's gross.
Weird. That's even grosser now that you found out she was 11. It was me and two of my friends. We'll call the friend. Oh, God. It's fine. We'll call the friends Katie and Taylor. Katie's older sister, we'll call Lauren. Damn, there's too many of them already. I'm not going to be able to remember these names. Someone help. And her friend, we'll call Sam. Okay. Just people. Okay, there's people.
There's a group of people. They all believe in the Ouija board.
They all experience the Ouija board. Big difference.
Wrong.
Lauren and Sam had a talking board. Basically, it was a super girly looking Ouija board with a kitty on it. Katie, Taylor, and I laughed, but said, okay. We all put our fingers on the piece, and it very quickly started moving across the board. It spelled out, run. No, it's fine. My friends and I freaked out and yanked our hands back. Lauren and Sam busted out laughing. They said they moved it to scare us. Katie started yelling at them as they continued to laugh at us. About that time, the bathroom light turned off. It made us all jump as it was the only light we had on. Then it turned back on. Taylor spoke up and said, okay, you got us, we're done. But Lauren and Sam seemed genuinely spooked. Then the planchette started to move towards me on its own. At this point, Katie, Taylor, Lauren, and Sam are all standing together opposite of me. I say, ha ha ha, very funny. I saw that coming from a mile away. But when I looked at Lauren and Sam, all I saw was pure fear. They had no color in their faces, and they were just staring at the planchette wide-eyed. Sam finally spoke up in a very shaky voice and said, no, that's not us. And then Lauren very, very calmly said, guys, go now. We all took off downstairs and out of the front door. Taylor and Katie started yelling again, saying, if that was you guys, cut it out and tell us the truth. But by now, Lauren and Sam were on the verge of tears and hyperventilating. I glanced up at the bedroom window. I saw the light in the bathroom turn off, and then a small black figure about my size sprint past the window.
It was AJ.
He's back. No one else was in the house. Lauren and Katie's older brothers were both off at college. Their dad was still at work, and their mom had run to the store and wasn't back yet. Katie and Taylor slept over at my house that night, and Lauren slept over with Sam. We never spoke about that experience to each other ever again. It also wasn't long after that incident that Katie, Taylor, and I had a big falling out. I haven't seen or spoken to Taylor since. It's been about 18 years. Katie and I reconnected a few years ago on Instagram and chat every now and then. Wow, didn't need to hear your life story about these people that Christian probably thinks doesn't exist, but it's fine. That's fine.
Taylor doesn't exist.
Cut her out.
She got taken out by the Ouija board.
That does happen sometimes.
And also being friends with young girls.
Yeah, young girls, they're kind of cutthroat. Kind of cutthroat, you know?
That is true. I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. I couldn't handle it. They're much tougher than me.
Well, this little girl, do you remember that soundbite? You know what the dumbest thing, dude? The dumbest sound bites of all time are the ones that go through my mind. And like I will just randomly say out in public even. Just random, and that is one of them.
People look at you weird?
Yeah, your daughter looks at me weird if I'm just sitting there like, this little girl. I want to know if anyone else that listens to this show has random sound bites that just float through their head for just no reason. Doesn't have to be a favorite. Just a random sound bite that we use on the soundboard that you'll randomly talk about to friends or whatever. You'll bring it up in conversation and people not understand what you're doing and they'll be like, wow, this person is mentally ill.
I get that. I get a random sound bite, but it's not from the soundboard. It's from Danny Go. And it's ha-ha.
I get in the dark, and that's all.
Yeah.
That's just because that's the way he says it, but it's fine. Whatever, that's all I got for you. What do you think? Christian Ouija boards, 2025, are they a go?
I mean,
yes.
I don't believe in them, but you can play with them if you want.
Okie dokie.
I feel like
I agree.
A really good Ouija board would be made out of a wooden gravestone from 300 years ago.
You think a wooden gravestone from 300 years ago?
Yeah, just flip it over and carve all the numbers and words on the back of it. Nothing. What could go wrong?
Well, it sounds like you thought it through. What about you folks at home? Ouija boards, yes or no? Some of you already know the answer to that. Hey, if you're a lurker in the shadows that has listened to this podcast for a while and doesn't interact or talk or share your opinions on things, do so now, especially if you're on YouTube.
I want to hear our listeners' Ouija board stories.
Have we? Yeah, we've had a couple Ouija board stories.
Yeah, I want to hear a couple more.
Yeah, if we have any new listeners that have Ouija board stories that'll freak Christian out, go ahead and send them into the gang at thefreakydeaky.com and we'll get you penciled in with the rest of these stories whenever that comes out, probably a couple months from now, because I don't want to just overwhelm our audience and keep Melanie away for too many weeks. Sorry, Melanie. Anyway. Remember to follow the show on Instagram, Facebook, wherever, at Freaky Deaky Pod. If you want to buy some merch, you can find that at the website, thefreakydeaky.com. You can also donate if you want to keep the show alive and well and popping. But to do that, you got to scroll to the very bottom and click the little button. A little tiny button. A cute little tiny button we got down there.
You're just a little button.
That's right. It's not all in your face like some of these podcasts, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, give us money. Even though it would be nice if you gave us money. But that's beside the point. We'll talk to you guys next week where we are getting into something else. Isn't that a treat?
It's right over there.
It's right over there.
Bigfoot is stalking by your window. Dogman is scratching at your door. Ghosties are walking up and down your halls at night, and the Hat Man is coming back for more. Your name is Christian, you love a can of beans, and you're the wettest blanket skeptic this world has ever seen. You're almost always wrong, it's quite an impressive streaky. This song has rambled on too long. Welcome to the Freaky Deaky. Your name is Christian, your name ironically, because the only belief you have can be found in a can of beans. You're almost never right, and now you get roasted weekly. This song has rambled on too long. Welcome to the Freaky Deaky. Also, ghosts exist, just an FYI. Aliens are feeling blue, The Ouija demons lonely, 'cause they believe in you.